Hi, folks. Don Paul Blathers. Fun with UFOs. At least it's fun for me. For some of you true believers, maybe not as much fun as I might like you to have. Of course, I grew up in the era of amazing, awful 50s sci fi movies, but in my childhood, flying saucer reports were coming into the government, the Air Force, on a daily basis, hundreds of reports. And as the years wore on into this decade, the number of reports has dropped off a little bit. But in general, the idea that there are civilizations coming to visit us when in fact it's a hard thing to do no matter how advanced the technology is. And by the way, this map of the known universe is produced by the American Museum of Natural History. We're going to take a look at that as I blather. There's a confusion between the likelihood of intelligent life in the universe versus the likelihood that any of it has ever or will ever visit planet Earth. And let's take a look at some basic conservative estimates. It is thought now, when Carl Sagan was alive, he thought there were hundreds of billions of galaxies. Now, with far superior technology, the Hubble telescope, and even newer telescopes, now there are conservative estimates that this known universe, with the same laws of physics throughout, has about 10 trillion galaxies, not stars, galaxies. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, has 100 billion stars. So you multiply that times 10 trillion, and the number of stars, and according to some cosmologists I researched when I wrote my Buffalo News article on this topic a few weeks ago, they're estimating conservatively 8 septillion stars, and that's 8 with 24 zeros. And that means well, we have so many stars that the chances of there not being planetary systems with life, some of it advanced, are virtually nil. But then what about the chances of any of those civilizations knowing we're here and being able to visit us or even wanting to visit us? That's where human hubris, where our sense of self-importance that we're so special comes into play. But when you think that there were no city lights until late in the 19th century, and those city lights would not be visible with optics through interstellar dust in other planetary systems, in other star systems, the first chance of evidence of our existence would be the first broadcasts. All broadcasts travel at the speed of light. The speed of light is an absolute that has been proven. It is not a theory. It came from Einstein's theory of general relativity, but it's a maximum for matter, for stuff, 186,000 miles a second. So we know the first broadcast was in 1920 from KDKA, and it's now reached out 100 light years. That's about 15,000 stars. And most estimates say 1 out of 5 stars amongst those 8 septillion have planetary systems. So then we have to begin looking at the odds that anyone knows we're here. Well, physicists have already done the math on that KDKA broadcast. It would arrive in other star systems as the equivalent of someone on a Japanese shoreline trying to detect the noise and the waves from a pebble dropped on Santa Monica Beach across the Pacific amidst all the other waves and background sounds of the Pacific Ocean. Virtually impossible no matter what the technology is. Then it would have to be a civilization trying to see if there's anything here in our direction, and we would be one of countless trillions of exoplanets for an advanced civilization. What are the chances such a civilization is listening, and what are the chances they have mastered interstellar travel? You know, what triggered all this in my mind in a recent Buffalo News column that I wrote 3 weeks ago for the paper, the online edition, was a silly Facebook discussion from my hometown Facebook page, North Bergen, New Jersey, North Bergen. It's a town a little north of Jersey City, just west of Manhattan. And there were newspaper clippings on this Facebook page from the 70s, 80s, and 90s of repeated UFO sightings in North Hudson Park, which is right next to the apartment building I grew up in. Countless UFO visits to North Bergen. And the only thing I could think of that would have attracted aliens is aliens trying to figure out why everybody who spoke in North Bergen sounded exactly like Tony Soprano. You know what I mean? You know, if it was the Jersey Meadowlands, it might have made sense, you know, with all that swamp gas. So the confusion between the almost absolute probability of countless advanced civilizations versus the chances that they are coming here uh, leads me and far greater minds than mine to believe just because you see something that you can't explain, or even if it's a trained airline pilot or even an astronaut, it remains a UFO, unidentified. It does not prove that it is an alien visitor. And in fact, we have no evidence that's acceptable in the scientific community of alien visits. Oh, I wonder how many people I've ticked off. Anyway, I've had a little fun with this. Feel free to argue amongst yourselves. And I'm not giving out my home address or phone number, not after this baby. Talk to you soon.